Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be previewing the round 5 encounter in this year's Six Nations between Ireland and Scotland. This will take place on Super Saturday at the Aviva Stadium, the last game day of the Six Nations in which only one team can be crowned champions. Unfortunately for Ireland, their Grand Slam will not be on the line, and they could have gone back to back in Grand Slams hadn't they have lost to England last weekend. But that'll only add more fuel to the fire. I think this game is fittingly named Redemption. Ireland looking to redeem the loss to England last time out, and Scotland will be definitely wanting to redeem the loss to Italy. A match which if you are Scottish fans, is a game in which they simply shouldn't be losing. That's not to take anything away from Italy. They've been playing some unbelievable rugby, both attack and defence. So it's potentially not as bad as a loss as it would have been sort of 4 or 5 years ago, but from the Scottish standards in which they're setting themselves of being a top 5 team in the world, competing for the Six Nations title, it's simply not good enough from them. I think because of that, on both sides there'll be a huge amount of emotional energy in this game. Both teams really be taking it to each other physically and trying to put their blueprint on the game. This game was repeated in the not only in the Six Nations last year, but also in the World Cup. And so we do have a reasonable picture of what these lineups tend to produce on the field, and that is some good attacking rugby as well as some really good defence. The game in the Six Nations last year, Murrayfield was very low scoring, very gritty game, whereas the game in the World Cup was Ireland's really nice flowing attack, and Scotland really struggled to get into the game. And there was only a couple late tries in the 36-14 scoreline, which made it look a little bit more respectable for Scotland. So let's just go through the lineups. Ireland will welcome back some players returning not from injury in previous weeks, but from injury in the game last time out against England, namely Calvin Nash, who played a mere few minutes, unfortunately, before he got knocked out by Freeman, the English winger. But Andy Farrell names an unchanged front row of Porter, Sheehan and Furlong. Very strong front row, which will face off against Schoeman, Turner and Fagerson. Both Schoeman and Fagerson scored against Italy, so I'm not sure the last time that happened where a propping duo scored in the same game, but they'll be hoping to recreate some of that try-scoring form, albeit against a much sterner, much tougher Irish defence. Ireland, namely Dan Sheehan, will be looking to touch up that line out. It wasn't really clicking. I don't think it's fair to necessarily put too much on Dan Sheehan, because you never really know whether it was the line-out darts, the lifters, which could simply be Porter and Furlong, or whether it was the jumpers in McCarthy and Byrne. But the synergy between them does need to improve, because I've always found that's been one area of Ireland's game in which if they have a bad performance, their line-out usually doesn't operate. There's a very strong link there between the success of the line-out and the performance overall. I think the main reason for that is a lot of Ireland's launch plays actually come off of the line-out, so it's imperative that they do fix it up in this game. Now, talking about the second rows, we've got McCarthy and Byrne against Gilchrist and Cummings. McCarthy didn't have his best game against England, got caught out defensively a couple times. That being said, he's an absolute specimen of a forward, a specimen of a human being, and will be looking to implement his real physical carrying style against Scotland, and there's no better game to do it in. He's partnered up with the experienced Tadhg Beirne, who actually had a really solid performance out against England, albeit coming out on the wrong side of the result. For Scotland, they've gone for a heavyweight combination of Gilchrist and Cummings, two players which do like to carry ball in hand, and if you were to compare and contrast, you've probably got the slightly more agile second rows in McCarthy and Byrne, and Gilchrist and Cummings are very heavyweight. They're quite blocky, and they carry a lot of power in the collision, so those are just two contrasting styles of second rows you have. Moving into the back row, you've got O'Mahony, Josh van der Flier and Doris against Andy Christie, Rory Darch and Jack Dempsey. A really interesting combination in the back row for Scotland. You've got Andy Christie of Saracens, which is my team, and he's been fantastic in the Premiership for Saracens. Some really nice touches, very good evasive runner, and has got quite a bit of top end speed as well. Mixed with the jackling ability of Rory Darch and then the power of Jack Dempsey. So you can see how each of those players have their own strengths, which will contribute to the overall performance. Ireland, we've seen plenty of O'Mahony, Josh van der Flier and Doris. I actually think Josh van der Flier had a really good game last time out against England, obviously albeit coming off later on in the game, which was debated by some Irish fans. They thought he was having a good enough game to warrant staying on, but he'll be looking to recreate some of his form in this game against Scotland. O'Mahony got a yellow card in the last game, so we'll be looking to not necessarily redeem that particularly, because sometimes yellow cards, you can't really help them, and sometimes you do get away with it, sometimes you don't. So Omani will be looking to put in a strong performance, and hopefully he can help the Irish line-out. He's a really good strong jumper at the front. It's his sort of speciality is actually going up at the front and winning the easier ball. And then Doris is his usual self, really good ball carrier and can do a bit of it all. Moving into the back line, we've got Jameson Gibson-Park and Ben White at scrum half. Two scrum halves which love to run ball in hand, love to snipe and find the space. Two really, really good attacking scrum halves. And they both complement their fly half options really nicely. You've got Jack Crowley for Ireland, which is a player which has only really sort of broken through into the Irish team since Johnny Sexton departed after the World Cup. Had a really good first game against France, and since then he's not been poor by any means, but hasn't quite hit the same heights. So we'll be looking to bring that into this game. We've seen a little bit of everything from Jack Crowley. We've seen some really good attacking rugby, some decent defence. We've also seen a little bit of a clunky attack at times. So it'll be interesting to see how he can work with the back line to shore things up this game. Speaking of attack, there's not many players that do it better than Finn Russell. An unbelievable attacking threat for Scotland. And if he can get on the front foot, he can score some really good tries and can assist many a try, and is a real dangerous attacking threat. The goal kicking in this game could be crucial. Finn Russell's been kicking at a stupidly high percentage for Scotland, albeit not having the best kicking stats at Bath, which is kind of a weird thing. You don't tend to see it change too much between club and country, but clearly Finn Russell's been really dialed in for Scotland. And then Crowley, he's had games against France where he's been almost immaculate, games against Italy where he's been a little bit mixed. So it'll be interesting to see which version of Crowley off the kicking tee we will see in this game. Moving into the centres, we've got Aki and Henshaw. A little bit of a debate whether Henshaw should be swapped off for Ringrose coming back from injury. I'm always a fan of a player coming back from injury, given a bit of game time off of the bench as opposed to starting, as it is an awful lot of pressure to deal with when you've not been match fit for too long. Bundyaki had a good performance against England. He's always very, very powerful in the collision, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this game. But even in Irish losses, you don't see Bundyaki performing too badly, so he's really been a talisman for the Irish side. Into the Scottish midfield, we've got McDowell and Hugh Jones. So no Sione Tuipulotu in the midfield. I've not seen much of McDowell play, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares up against a really strong Irish centre combination of Aki and Henshaw. And then Hugh Jones, we know what to expect with him. Really good attacking threats, some good pace, some good vision, and he can often link up really well with Finn Russell. So that'll be important for Ireland in this game. For Scotland in this game. Moving into the back threes, we've got Lowe and Nash with Keenan at fullback for Ireland. Hopefully Nash can stay on the field a little bit longer in this game, as that was quite a brutal way to have his Saturday afternoon finished. So hopefully he can stay on and show a little bit more of what he can do. A player with some really nice footwork and some good aerial ability, even though he's a little bit compromised in terms of feet and inches vertically. But it'll be interesting to see how he features in the game. And then you've got Lowe as well, which will play a big role in the field position battle of kicking long and kicking to touch to try and help the Irish team play in the right areas. And then you've got the general at fullback in Hugo Keenan, who marshals the backfield so expertly, and we'll be looking forward to having a traditional back three as opposed to the one that was sort of around 60 minutes in the England game where you had Jameson Gibson-Park in the back three and things were a little bit clunky. So he'll be looking forward to getting back into the sort of traditional sense. And then for Scotland, you've got Duhan van der Merwe, the big Scottish winger who's just so powerful. And if you put him in space, he can be very, very dangerous, albeit it does have his vulnerabilities in terms of defensively. He can be turned quite easily due to being quite a big frame. It takes a little bit to get going. So that's maybe something the likes of Nash, who has a massive physical height disadvantage, could look to benefit from. You've got Steyn on the other wing for Scotland, very consistent performer. I can't put my finger on anything he does expertly well, but I can't really put my finger on anything he doesn't do well. So a very good all-rounder in Carl Steyn. And then the fullback, I think this is the key for Scotland in terms of their progression through the world rankings, is Blair Kinghorn, a player which can really change games, a player which has so much X factor, some really good vision and kicking ability. His game's really excelled since moving over to France to play for Toulouse, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this game. In terms of the bench, just to skim through this really quickly, you've got Kelleher, Healy and Beelum for Ireland coming off the bench in the front row, and then you've got Baird and Conan covering second row and back row, and then Andy Farrell has learnt from his potential mistake. I call it a mistake. It was just unfortunate that Nash got knocked out early, but you've gone for 3 backs on the bench in Murray, Byrne and Ringrose. I think that's Harry Byrne as opposed to Ross Byrne, so let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, Irish supporters. Who would you prefer there? And then Ringrose is the key name coming off the bench for Ireland. I was wondering if you'd see Craig Casey get given a shot off of the bench to give him some game time, see what he can do, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't get the nod. In the Scottish bench, you've got Ewan Ashman, Rory Sutherland, Miller Mills, Skinner, Fagerson. You've got George Horn at scrum half, a little small scrum half, which can really add some tempo to that Scottish attack. You've got Redpath, who had a decent game against Italy, and then you've got Carl Rowe, who's a player with unbelievable feet and ability to sort of make meters post contact. So we've got a really interesting game. This is shaping up to be on the weekend. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you want to see from Ireland, and what do you want to see from Scotland, and what are the areas in which each team can sort of go after? The expected result from the bookies is a 15-point victory to Ireland. I'm expecting a big response from Ireland, but that's sort of matched by the Scottish frustration in which they're going to be wanting to respond to the match against Italy. So a game in which you don't really know where the emotional edge lies. You'd have to obviously favour Ireland by a decent margin to come away with the result. That being said, Scotland will spot some of the vulnerabilities they showed against England, so it's going to be a very interesting match to see how it unfolds. Me personally, I do predict Ireland to come away with about a 10 to 15 point victory, albeit I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer and Scotland make it a scrappy game, and I wouldn't really be surprised if Ireland went through the gears and were very ruthless against Scotland. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed the match as always, and I'll catch you later. See you later, guys.